Welcome back, everyone. My next guest did time at the Georgia State Prison at Reedsville back in the early 1970s. Donnie Hixon spent 9 weeks there back in 1973 as part of the cast of The Longest Yard. Hixon was selected as Burt Reynold's stand-in double for the film The Longest Yard. He had a semi-pro football career himself. Of course, you know, Burt Reynolds died in 2018, but he too had a football background, having played college ball in Florida. Well, it is so great to have you here with us. You know, I am learning about your story through Stan Byrdy's book, but it is so interesting how you had this brush with Hollywood. And I just wanted you to tell us a little bit about that. You were playing for the Augusta Eagles, which was a semi-pro team back then, and they used you all, some of you players, in the movie.
That's correct. Right. That's correct.
So how did it come about?
How did it come about?
Yeah.
It just came about, that's all I know to tell you. Pat Studstill, who played pro football, he was a casting director.
Yeah.
And he was in Atlanta looking at people, and he called up information, and the Augusta Eagles, being an A, was listed first, and he called him, and then Dr. Colucci, who owned the team, he was the one he got to talking to him. We wound up being in it. They should have got Savannah football team was closer, but that's how we got in. It was 15 players that got in it.
Well, you had a relationship with Burt Reynolds. You were his stunt double, but then you kept up over the years, right?
Yeah, a few times over the years.
Yeah.
And then right after The Longest Yard, when he did Gator, that was 3 years later, I went down and visited, and I sat with him while he was directing the bar scene.
Oh, but that was fun.
And probably could have had a chance to be in it, but I went down 2 days straight, and I got promoted on my job, and it was too good to turn down. So I wasn't going to be able to take off like I did the other time.
To do that. One of the things that was interesting to me was you were actually filming at a state prison. And it ended up here because there had been a riot at the prison in another state where they were going to film it, right?
That's correct, in Oklahoma. That's right. They burnt the stadium down and set the prison on fire. Some of the inmates, they got mad because they weren't going to be in the movie. And they moved it to Georgia.
That had to make you a little bit nervous about going into this situation, knowing that it was an active prison.
Yeah, they was housing the most dangerous criminals in the country in that prison, and I never forget it. But some of them, you never know they were criminals, really. They just, something happened in their life that made them go the wrong way.
Well, that's something you can relate to because your story is amazing. You were telling me that you came home, you were born, and you were born homeless.
Yeah, well, my mama had a neighbor bring us home from the hospital. When we got there, our stuff was out in the streets.
She gets home with a new baby.
Right. And
has nowhere to go.
Right.
Wow. Your personal story is one of overcoming adversity.
Well, you got one way to go, and that's keep moving on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just the way it is, and there's a lot of sad stories out there. If you look at the news every day, there's sad stories every day. But back then, that was big news as to what happened to my daddy. And
your father was, he was beat up by the police, is that right?
Right. But he started it. He initiated it. He threw the first lick. He should have cooperated and let him rest him, and it probably wouldn't happen. Same thing you see today.
Yeah.
If these people wouldn't start it, just cooperate with the police, and nothing probably will happen. But he thought he could beat up 4 of them.
Wow.
Didn't work out good. The odds was against him.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting you would say the odds were against him because that's the title of the book that tells your story, Against All Odds.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Stan Byrdy has written this book with you to tell your story of the other 22.
That's right.
Which was Burt Reynolds' number.
Yeah, they were going to name it the other 22. And Bill Babb, local sports writer, he wanted to edit it, and he said it should be named that. And then Pat Dye, former coach of Auburn, he wrote on a picture that I got in there that I beat all the odds.
Wow.
And
So that's how it came together. Well, we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, you'll want to stay with us because Stan Byrdy, who we just mentioned, who wrote the book, is going to join us. Stick around. We'll be back in just a minute. Stan Byrdy is an author, speaker, historical researcher, and writer, video journalist, and documentary producer. And of course, many of you will recognize him from his 23 years as a sports director here in Augusta TV at WJBF and at WAGT. Stan's latest book, we have it right here, is Against All Odds, the Donnie Hixon story. And his other books include the Augusta National Golf Club, Alistair McKenzie's Masterpiece, and Augusta and Aiken in golf's golden age. So Stan, thank you so much for being here with us today. It is great. It is so fun to have you here on the show.
It's like homecoming day.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am learning a lot about this book because I'm seeing it all over social media.
Right.
And I was telling Donnie yesterday, I had mentioned to my husband that you all were going to be here. I said, hey, I'm having Stan Byrdy on the show. He's written this book about a guy that was like the stunt double for Burt Reynolds, and Scott immediately stopped me. He goes, so Donnie Hixon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, how do you know? He goes, football.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows that story. So anyway,
it's a great story.
It's a wonderful story. And as it is described, it says it's a heartbreaking, heroic, oftentimes humorous tale of Hixon's life. And you've also, it says, interspersed a lot of Augusta in it, including the Godfather of Soul and the Augusta riots.
Yes, and Three Faces of Eve, and people like who do we have in there? Bobby Maybaum and E.G. Maybaum,
Wow.
Preston Sizemore, and some of Donnie's favorites. It would be the Usrys, Carolyn and Horace Usry, who really took him in when he was down and out, and you know, his family of 5 went to a family of 1 for a time being, and Donnie's at 15 in a tin roof house that does not have heat in the winter, does not have air conditioning in the summertime, and he's trying to find his way through all this and has to quit high school, and the Usrys took him in, and that's a big part of his life of what happened. But he carried this story with him for 70 years now, and we took a trip to Reedsville Prison, Donnie and I, which is a story in itself.
You went back to visit where you shot the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And we had a great time. We went unannounced, and I told Donnie we were going to do that because that's the way I did sports when I was doing sports. We just, no, Donnie's like, you got to call somebody.
Yeah.
No, we're going there unannounced. And sure enough, we went in, and it was unannounced, and Donnie had his scrapbook, and I gave the guy a card, and Donnie had his Paramount
card.
Pictures ID card,
Yeah.
and Warden Marty Allen,
That's right.
who was warden at the time, closed prison, said, come on in. He said, my desk is clear. We got the rest of the day with just you. And so he took us to, he took us up to the 5th floor, which was death row, where the electric chair oversat a window that oversat where the football field is, the actual football field they built for Burt Reynolds, and the script is right there next to the electric chair. And all the pictures of Burt Reynold are there, and the phone that the governor would call on. It was just a surreal.
So it's like a little museum right there.
Of sorts, of the best and the worst, spots at times in that prison's history. But still, the prison really has a pride for that movie. And when we went down there and started showing pictures, people started telling stories of, oh, I remember inmate so and so, and he's not here anymore, but he had a part in the movie. So it.
So that they used inmates too, along with the.
We only had a few
actors,
of them that actually played football with live scrimmages, but there was some when he was trying to get up a team, but they didn't play in the football.
Yeah.
But there was a few. But back of that electric chair was a bombing table.
What's the what table?
Embalming table.
Embalming table.
Oh, embalming
Right.
table. Oh.
Yeah, and he was talking about the phone to the governor's office. I asked the warden, I said, what's that phone for? They get to make a phone call home to the mother or daddy? He said, no, that's to the governor.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't even know what it was.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
That was
just a
scary place.
surreal.
That was a scary
Yeah.
place.
But we got it all on tape, and it was a tremendous journey down there, and it just let us know that we were on the right path. Unfortunately, we didn't know Burt Reynolds was going to die 6 months later, but we had all these stories, and we knew we had to tell them, and we knew we had to tell them now.
Yeah.
So.
You have a knack for finding cool stories, Stan, and sharing those stories.
Local stories of national interest. That's always
Yeah.
been my forte. And this is just one of those. And I'm just glad that I got to do Donnie's story. I moved across the street from him 21 years ago, and in a subdivision, Rhodes Hill.
Yeah.
Rhodes Hill. And then Donnie moves to Rhodes Farm Estates, and then to Rhodes Farm, and I moved, and so we're still neighbors.
Yeah.
Keeps following me.
Yeah, I keep following him. That's how it happened. But over the years, I got to know his stories.
And what a story it is.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's an incredible story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it must be so neat for you to see this picture on a book and know that your story has finally been captured, for all time and shared. That is so neat. You have an opportunity too to hear more from Stan and from Donnie. They're going to be talking about their book later this week, and the public is invited. It's coming up Thursday, the 30th, from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Sacred Heart Cultural Center. That's at 1301 Green Street. Stan and Donnie, this has just been a real treat to have you all here today. Thank you so much. I look forward to reading all about your story, Donnie. I want to read the whole book, and you can learn a lot more about Stan too on his website. There are links to that on our website. Just go to WJBF.com and click the Jenny link, and you'll find all the information you want to know about Stan and his other books.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Certainly,
thank you.
certainly. Up next on Jenny, she's a Columbia County girl.